it's actually unlawful to call sauna infrared a sauna in Germany. They passed a law that it's misleading, and so there they call them infrared cabins. Outdoor is the fastest growing segment for sure, and backyard living, which you guys specialize in a lot, but backyard living has also helped with this boom. There's a lot of clubs that they think go out, they'll just put in whatever one they can and put the cheapest one in just to check it off that we have a sauna. But the fact is that when you put in one of those, I don't think you'll gain any members by having it, and you'll probably lose members by having a poor model.
Mark is the current vice president of retail programs of Bathing Brands, Inc., which leads the World Sauna Group division gearing towards the pool and spa industry. Prior to coming to Bathing Brands, Mark was the director of sales and marketing for Sauna 360. Over his 31 years at his former company, he helped build networks of dealers and sauna evangelists where they had coverage of every single state and most major markets across North America. Look forward to talking to Mark. Welcome to Luxury Outdoor Living Podcast with Mike
and Trey Farley
of Farley Pool Designs. For over 40 years, we've helped homeowners turn their backyards into personal retreats. And that's why after decades of designing and teaching in this industry, we're here to share our knowledge, helping you navigate the process with confidence.
Every week we break down design, trends, and insider tips that turn your vision into reality. We'd love to have you along for the ride.
Let's build your paradise together. So, Mark, it's great to have you on Luxury Outdoor Living Podcast. And so tell us one thing that wasn't in your bio that would be interesting to know about you.
I don't know what's interesting about me. I guess I tell people I have 10 kids. I have 5 of my own and 5 with my wife, and we got 6 grandkids. So I don't know. That's interesting to some people.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun. So do you guys all get together at one time, or is that kind of hard?
We do. It gets a little crowded at the holidays, Christmas time, because now there's most of our kids are in their 20s now and they're getting married. And so the group is growing. So, yeah, it gets a little crowded, but it's a lot of fun. And I love kids and I love grandkids. So it keeps us busy. And we're on a lake, so we got plenty to do. You can enjoy the lake in the summer with the boats and kayaking or canoeing, or in the winter, we can do ice skating and ice fishing. And so, yeah, we're blessed to be where we are.
Well, I understand that I have 3 kids, not 10, but we have 5 grandkids so far. So that's nice. Been fun. Anyway, we look forward to having more fun with all those. So you have been in the sauna industry for a long time. So tell us how did you start in this industry?
Yeah. So I've been around sauna my whole life. With my Finnish heritage, my family had a sauna at our farm where we grew up. We would sauna at least every Wednesday and Saturday. And once we put an electric in the basement, we would sauna nearly every day. And so I grew up using it and loving it. Where it got involved in the industry is my family was involved in bringing sauna to this area of the country in northern states, and as importers from a company out of Finland. And then they were doing it more as a sideline or a hobby. And then my older brother decided, you know what, I can make a go of this. And he took all the risk and ownership investment and decided to make a go of it in the late 80s. And then through a series of changes over the years, he became a minority owner by the parent company out of Finland. And I joined the company in 91. I think I was their 6th employee. And at that time, we were a pretty small company, about $1.5 million company, and pretty, as far as market share, maybe 10% of the market at that time. But within short order, we became the market share leader. Within a few years, by the mid-90s, I think we were already the largest by that time, based on all the data we could find on import records and industry intelligence, you could call it. And the year that I left my former company, that company that I started with, was in December of 2022. We were kind of a little bit, not too large in the industry, certainly. The Harvia was there kind of nipping away, but we were roughly 55 million at the time I left the company. So went through a tremendous growth. through those years, and that's how I got started in it. My family was originally involved, and then kind of fell into it too through their first sales manager was trying to pull me in, and I agreed.
All right. So over that period of time, I'm sure there's been some radical changes in the industry. So can you give us a little bit of brief history of sauna and, so for
Yeah.
people that aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so I'll just tell you mostly purely from my perspective. I can't give a lot of the history in the 70s and 80s, other than to say in those periods, a lot of people don't know that saunas were sold through Sears Roebuck catalog in the 70s, and actually a lot of heaters were sold into North America in those years, based on data from our parent company that I learned later in my life. So saunas have been around North America for a long time, but I'll say from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, with my experience now coming into play from 92 on, it was mostly a heater industry, which means people were building their own. They'd buy their redwood, was a very common wood at the time, or cedar, and they'd build their own sauna, and they need a good heater. And so it was mostly a heater industry from the 70s and 80s especially. And then I would say in 92 when I started, we probably sold 5 heaters for every room we'd sell by itself. By the time we got to the turn of the century, I would say we were probably 2 heaters to every room, where you'd sell maybe 1 heater by itself where somebody built their own, and then another heater with the room kit where we were selling the full kits. Throughout all those years, infrared kind of came on by storm, mainly due to a good price, but also due to, you could say, a little bit of misleading marketing, trying to call it better than traditional Finnish sauna at delivering heat or sweat, which was not true. It just delivered in a different way. My former company, when we got into the industry, we were calling them infrared heat therapy cabins because they weren't a sauna. Here's a little side story for you. It's actually unlawful to call infrared a sauna in Germany.
Really?
They passed a law that it's misleading, and so there they call them infrared cabins. And it is more accurate. But here in North America, it's used the term sauna since the 80s, and it never got away from it. And now we just kind of always make sure you use the term infrared in front of the term sauna when you're referring to an infrared, whereas traditional Finnish sauna, you can usually call it sauna. The true definition of the word is sauna. It's a Finnish word. It's the only Finnish word in the English dictionary. So you take a look at the Finnish sauna. It's kind of, a lot of people say, well, that's kind of a, not oxymoron, but it's kind of redundant to say Finnish sauna. But nonetheless, it's been forced on us because of the infrared influence in the industry. It's not bigger, it's not better. It's just different, and it's good. And our company sells both, and they're for different purposes. And we can talk a little bit about that after a while, but Finnish sauna is where I got my start, and then we became one of the big market size leaders in infrared as well later in my career.
I use this on all the time, but I tried a steam room in Cabo when I went on this like little spa day, I guess, with my fiance. And with the sauna, it's you get the dry heat, and you might get the humidity when you're really high, and some people might throw water on the side panels and stuff like that. But the other one, the steam room, was so much more peaceful because I wasn't in excruciating heat, but at the same time, you still get that suffocating kind of feel with the humidity, which is
it really envelops your body. A steam bath, we always talk about from the terms of benefit of the steam bath. It's much more of a respiratory benefit, good for your lungs and sinuses and so forth. You don't get a lot of the detox and sweating benefit where you're getting rid of the heavy metals, and you don't burn as many calories because you're not sweating as much. So you're just more, but you get joint relief, pain, relief on your joints. So with using the steam bath, similar to the sauna. And a lot of the time where people have found sauna to be excruciating heat is usually 2 things have happened. Somebody has either poorly ventilated the room, so you don't have much oxygen, so you feel claustrophobic. Maybe you start to feel lightheaded or get a headache. So ventilation is one of the biggest and most commonly overlooked parts of designing a sauna. And then the other is they're not allowing you to either use steam, which can help comfort and coat the sinuses and help you for breathing. A lot of people think it's the opposite. Now, granted, if you're running it at 195 or 200 Fahrenheit and throw steam, that's usually uncomfortable for most people. So The average is probably 175 to 185 for most of the people to be comfortable and still throw steam on the rocks, breathe through it. My company has this unique heater, and this isn't meant to be a commercial podcast in any way, but my company has a heater that is revolutionizing on the global scale with the air movement in the sauna. It's called an air perfect heater, and what it does is it takes that heat bubble, because in the sauna, your heat bubble's in that top 2 to 3 feet near the ceiling. And that's why you always need 2 or 3 tiers of benches in a traditional sauna typically. But by putting in the air perfect, it brings that heat bubble all the way down to your toes, and it's also easier to breathe. It pulls more oxygen into the room due to this little unique air design feature built into the heater, so it pulls in a lot of oxygen. And it's really, my wife, she didn't grow up in the sauna, and she loves our air perfect heater because she can just breathe through every steam. It's like it's comfortable. She gets a good sweat going, and it doesn't feel stifling in any way for her.
That's awesome. That's actually really underrated because I know guys that have canceled memberships because the sauna's better at a different gym.
Absolutely.
And that's huge because there's some saunas that go to this really nice gym and they have this really big open sauna. It's like, maybe y'all need more heaters in here. I don't know what's going on, but it definitely gets hotter up top. People will stand in some of the saunas just to get that hotter air. But that's huge if you can get that more balanced effect. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
We kind of jumped into a side thing because of my question, but so for somebody that's checking out and doesn't understand a lot about a sauna, why don't you give us the basics of, a structure and the basic then benefits of using one?
Yeah. So first of all, a sauna is going to be a wood-lined room. And generally, it needs to be a softwood. It doesn't have to be a softwood as in a coniferous tree or something like that. You can also get soft hardwoods that work well in a sauna, like aspen, for instance. It's a very soft hardwood that you can use in a sauna and performs very well in a sauna. But basically, it's a wood-lined room built of a softwood that, and the reason why it needs to be a softwood is you're running at high temperatures. If you try to use an oak or maple or something in a sauna, it's just going to bake you like an oven, and you don't want that. You want the wood to absorb the heat and release the heat in a soft manner, and that's what a softwood does. Furthermore, you need a rock heater in the sauna that is going to get to temperatures, get the room to 140 to 194 Fahrenheit, with that average being around 175 to 185 for most bathers, if you're trying to dial in where most of the people want it. Now, if the lower the temperature is, generally the more people are going to want to be able to throw steam, because if you start getting below 175 down to 170, 165, if it's dry, it's going to feel almost cold. So you do need the ability to add steam. If you're getting upwards of temperatures of 190, now you could be at a temp where you don't really need the steam for everyone. Some people like it completely dry, desert dry, I'll call it, and they just want to sweat that way. But a true sauna, the definition, if you look in the dictionary, it is the combination of the heat and the humidity. It's not one without the other. You do basically need both. But honestly, that's the best part about being in this industry for me, is that when you own your own, you get to do it how you like. There's no right or wrong way. Despite anyone who owns one, they act like they're an expert. The fact is, they're an expert on how they like to use it and enjoy it. And the way I am, let's just get you in one that you're going to use the most, whether it's infrared, whether it's traditional Finnish, whether it's hot, whether it's cool, whether it's wet, whether it's dry. For me personally, I can give you from personal experience, I vary it to how I'm feeling. If it's in the winter and I have a head cold, I'm going to turn that down to 155, 160, and I'll probably put a bucket of steam in 15 minutes. But it will be so steamy in there, and it clears up my sinuses. I'll probably add eucalyptus to the water, but I've just been able to clear up my head. I've been able to, then I can fall asleep easier. Versus, let's say, maybe I have the flu, or I've been out on the lake ice fishing and I'm just chilled to the bone and cold. Well, I might crank it up to this max setting of 194 and go in there and just bake it out and throw a little bit of steam to help induce the sweat, but just sit there and lie down. So I even vary it to how I'm feeling. Most of the time I'm around that 185, 190 is perfect for me with a fair amount of steam, but everyone is different, and that's the beauty of your own sauna. So the sauna is a wood-lined room, rock heater, ability to throw steam. You don't have to throw steam. And then you will need proper ventilation, often overlooked, especially decades ago. People are getting it now. And then you want to build it in a manner that it's going to perform well. A lot of designers and architects and people who know how to make a home look beautiful, they design a sauna poorly because they want to keep 9 or 10 foot ceilings. Absolutely the worst thing you can do in a sauna. 8 foot, that's even, I'll say, a poor design, but with a lot of standards nowadays, at least commercial, a lot of places still want 8 foot for various reasons, so that's okay. But the standard in Europe is 2.2 meters, and that's 7 foot here. They'll even go down to 2 meters in Europe as a common ceiling height. It's just more efficient and works better. I don't even know if I answered that question.
No, you gave some great information. So, and there's saunas that can be inside your home, and there's saunas that can be outside your home, correct? So is there a big...
And that's another thing that's changed over the last 30 years. Well, it's always been indoor and outdoor, and entry level and luxury and infrared and traditional and all that. But I would say when I started in the industry, probably 90% of the sales of my company were indoor only, 10% outdoor. You had those, I'll say, more of maybe the Scandinavian or Nordic crowd, or some of the, what they call, maybe people who like to use the word authentic. They felt it had to be outdoors and it had to be wood fired. And frankly, those are the best. That's what I have in my cabin. It's my favorite sauna in the world. I fire up the wood fire sauna and I go jump in the lake. And Lake Superior is cold year round. It's always cold, but it's the most euphoric feeling there is. But outdoor is one of the biggest changes in the last 10 years, where outdoor saunas have come on by storm. Part of it is the introduction of barrel and cube saunas. And they're not great in their design, like they provide a better environment, but they're convenient. You don't need to pour a slab. You don't need footings. You don't need anything. You just find a level ground and put the barrel or cube down. You could, even put it on the dirt, but we recommend at least pea gravel or pavers or something. But that has changed it. But also the fact that there's just so many companies now making beautiful outdoor saunas, some of them, pre-built, pre-wired. All you have to do is crane lift them into place, to the portable, like the barrels and cubes, and some of our other portable log style and insulated styles. So outdoor is the fastest growing segment for sure. And backyard living, which you guys specialize in a lot, but backyard living has also helped with this boom. People start using their pool earlier in the season and later in the season. Or if you're in Arizona, you can use the pool year round if you have a sauna near the pool. I mean, it literally changes how you use your pool in your backyard by having a sauna back there.
Used to be one a year. Now it's 5 or 6 a year, so it's becoming more of a mainstream request to have part of a some people call them a wellness retreat. They want a sauna and they want a cold plunge and they want a hot tub, all incorporated in the project, so they can go through all these different things or use them independently. So anyway,
yeah, you're right. I remember about 15 years ago when sauna finally hit the statistics with the National Home Builders Association. How many new housing starts include a sauna? It was never even a statistic. Well, all of a sudden it was like 1.5%. We're like, woohoo, but when you look at it, okay, 400 some thousand new housing starts a year, whatever, all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're here, we're arrived, we're coming. And now I don't know what the percentage is. I haven't seen it in their statistics, but saunas are becoming more mainstream. Wellness is driving that. Even on Google, saunas are more often searched now than hot tubs. That was a big day when that happened about 3-4 years ago, when saunas surpassed it on interest, people doing searches. And it's an evidence with our dealers around the country. They're saying, yeah, saunas are going to overtake my hot tub sales in short order. And there's a few who it already has.
Can you speak on the exposure impact? Because like he was talking about with the health and wellness situation, it's huge, especially in America, where people are trying to catch up to everybody else, because we've been very unhealthy for a very long time with our habits. But with like the cardiovascular health benefits and the muscle recovery and the longevity, and can you just touch on that for real quick?
Yeah, one thing I love for people to do as a result, if anyone's listening to this and they want to do a little more study on the wellness and health benefits, there's an awesome study done out there, and it's just University of Eastern Finland sauna study. That's all you have to type in, University of Eastern Finland sauna study, and you'll find gobs and gobs of great medical journals and documents. I mean, Harvard Health picked it up, Mayo Clinics picked it up. I mean, all the big name health places that you'd think of picked it up, but it's because it was a true peer-reviewed study. There was over 2,000 participants, and they were looking at the effects of sauna and the different wellness aspects of what happened to them. And over 20 years, that large of a control group, what they found was that the more often you use the sauna, and surprisingly, the temperature wasn't even that hot. It was 100, I think 174 was the sweet spot to be at least that temperature or warmer. And the length of time was only 15 minutes of use. And they were getting amazing benefits for the people in this study. There's reducing the onset of Alzheimer's by over 60%. It reduced heart attacks by over 50%. I mean, it was the earth-shattering study back in 2018 when that was published that changed my world to a degree, where it basically proved what a lot of us probably maybe thought or assumed, like, well, there's something good about it. I just love to use it. But here it is in a study that is not paid by any commercial interest. It was just a university study. Okay, Finland is the homeland of sauna, of course. But so the university that did that study, that was just, and now it's contributed to further studies on it. So rather than get into every little detail on that, other than to say anything related to your heart, cardiovascular, even brain function, is all going to be, you're going to notice favorable results by using the sauna. And that the other sweet spot was 4 times a week. So it's actually more was better. If they were using 1 time a week, they didn't see much benefit at all. A little bit. Now, everyone who used it saw more benefit, but the more you used it, the more benefit, and 4 times seemed to be the magic number in this study of people. There's another one, if you want another fun one to look at, that's, I say, puts it more in American speak. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yep.
And she also doesn't get into commercial interests, so you can trust her and her take on it. She has some awesome videos. She actually interviews the main doctor that led this study, this Dr. Laukkanen from Finland. She does some interviews with him, which are fantastic. So check those out whenever you get a time. But needless to say, I always tell, if I'm at a home show with a deal or something, it not only feels good, it's good for you. I mean, if I could summarize sauna in one phrase, I'll say it not only feels good, it's good for you.
100%. I just typed in the Finland study because I hadn't heard of it before, and what crazy stat popped up was reduced risk of a stroke. A 15-year-old study involving 1,628 participants aged from 53 to 74 found that those who took sauna 4 to 7 times per week had a 61% lower risk of having a stroke.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's wild.
And so people you talk about, I have dealers all over the country where they used to, they have people coming in that have like dementia in their family. They're like, well, it can't hurt. I'm going to try it. And it's not like they're going through pain to use it. They're enjoying it. So it's like, why not do something you enjoy? And then, boy, I might get all these medical benefits. But that one on stroke is another one. I had a couple of aunts die from a stroke, but okay, I have a lot of aunts. But the fact that it does help with that, it just gives me comfort knowing that I'm at least doing things to help maybe reduce that risk for myself.
No, that's that hits real close to home right now for our family.
For sure it does, yeah.
My father passed away a week ago from Alzheimer's, and my mother-in-law's got the beginning stages of dementia. So
Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's a debilitating thing, and it's gotten worse, or it sure seems like it's gotten worse when you look from when I was a kid till now.
Oh yeah.
And it probably has something to do with I don't know if it's the toxins in our food or
It's our environment.
all the things in our environment, but sauna detoxifies you. That was even before this University of Finland study came along. There was a study done by Richard Pierce. It was a U.S. Army medical study, and in there it had proved the amount of toxins released from your body, and it's all toxins that we're ingesting in our foods and other places. So it's always been known. I shouldn't say always. It's been long held fact that people have accepted that when you sweat, you're getting rid of heavy metals and toxins out of your body. And it's not infrared is going to do it better, or traditional sauna is going to do it better, and that you just need to sweat. And a sauna will help those toxic pathways better than just exercising alone.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially if you add it on top of your exercise and do it at the very end, because you already have your pores open and everything like that, and it's just like just maximizing your effort.
And it helps break down the lactic acid, which is formed when you work out. So taking a sauna is a great post-workout maneuver.
Oh yeah,
good call.
Oh yeah. I don't know, because I came in late. I'm not sure if y'all talked about it yet, but I'm curious on the different finishes, because I know wood is typically used in saunas because it's such a great insulator. But are there other materials that are used, maybe for just aesthetics, but I don't know what the pros and cons would be.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any, I'll say, man-made materials that are used in sauna that would be effective. We see some saunas where they'll put partial tile walls and so forth, mainly for cleaning purposes. But again, that just it can bake you and doesn't give the environment that's comfortable to sit in. Yeah. So the only things that I say, if you get different materials, is that's also been a change in the last 20 years or so, where you go just beyond cedar and hemlock or redwood or whatever. Those woods now they're going to more of some of these Scandinavian whitewoods, the Baltic whitewoods, also decorative woods. There's we use a product from a company called Deck Nord, which is very beautiful decorative woods, but it's using a birch plywood, which is a very eco-friendly material, but it's has these beautiful designs that you see in some fancy restaurants. They started actually doing this board type of a finish in high-end restaurants and high-end homes for a decorative wall on a entertainment center or something like that. But then they went into the sauna space because they're right in the heart of sauna country in Estonia and Finland. And now it's just become a beautiful addition, the accent wall, the one or two walls. So that's become some of the trends that you see. There's a few things. Is lighting. You're going to see a big improvement in lighting in the last 15 years. More subtle, low voltage, either in a backrest or under a bench, maybe in a valance hidden up high, but not bright, like lighting up a stadium like so many of the saunas from the 70s and 80s, where they just put a bunch of bright lights in there, just light it up like a football field. And it's not. You go to Europe and take sauna, you'll see very subtle lighting under the benches, maybe in the backrest, and that's about as bright as it gets. And that's what our standard rooms now include, just a subtle in the backrest or under bench, and not adding more. But you can add more, but you're wearing little or no clothing, especially if it's your own sauna. And most people are more comfortable when it's dimly lit. And so that's been a big change. And then the others, where you just mentioned that question, Trey, is these different wood or surfaces. And so decorative woods, like my own sauna, I just moved into this home here a year ago, and I put in there, I have two contrasting woods. I have Baltic aspen on 3 of my main walls. And then I have it's a wax coated dark. It's called Midnight Black on my back wall. And then also around the heater, I have the Midnight Black. So these contrasting woods, and it's just something different that I like.
That's cool.
So you mentioned something that I've heard people ask before and they weren't sure about it. Is cleaning in a sauna an issue? And how do you go about cleaning a sauna? Because people go in there and sweat, right?
There's a lot of sweat. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's what probably, I'll say, it used to be, it's getting better. It used to be one of the most overlooked issues, especially in commercial saunas, a little bit in residential. Most people can tell just by their nose, but you should, in a commercial sauna, they should wet mop it daily because you're sweating a lot. So you want to get the mop out and mop under the benches, mop on the floors, and rinse everything down the drain. As far as the benches themselves, we recommend, and you, again, if you go to Europe, they have it figured out. Saunas have been more mainstream there for 3 decades longer than the US as far as popularity. And so when you go there, they provide you a little seat pad or seat cover. And then you toss it with all the other dirty towels or linens when you're done. But that helps keep the benches looking better. But if they're allowing you to sit there with either your swimsuit or bare bum, depending if it's co-ed or separate, but they will get dirty and grimy. And because it's a natural wood and because it's not finished, you need the wood to breathe. You don't want it to reflect the heat. It's going to absorb sweat and dirt and oils. So you should scrub your benches daily. In a commercial, residential, some people will do it once a month. Some will do it like in my home, one of the nice ways to do it is you take a little brush hanging by the door and just dip it in the water bucket and scrub where you were sitting. And that's just one way to keep it clean without having to go clean it again later. But you are going to get sweat and oils. And if you don't clean it regularly, you're going to start to smell like sweat socks in a few months.
Yeah, the worst time is being in a commercial sauna and it's 195 degrees and someone farts or it just smells bad. So you don't want to smell
I'll give you a trick if that happens next time.
Okay.
Throw steam right away, because what happens, the way the steam goes through the room, it goes over the roof, comes back down, and it pushes it to the floor. So there's a little tip for you.
Interesting.
Good to know.
Yeah, it is. Physics.
Pulls it down to the floor. Somebody told me that. I'm not speaking from experience.
I've never seen. Well, to be fair, I've only been in dry saunas. I've never been in unless they're like throwing actual water against the walls to make it hotter. So that's actually an interesting point. How hot should your sauna get? Where's the cutoff? You said 196 earlier. Is that just because like for our heaters, they get up to 104 for like pool heaters. That's a regulation we have.
Yeah, water temps are going to be completely different than a sauna room temp. So that's one thing that the U.S. I will say just has never figured out. We're too low, but the UL has determined the maximum is 194 Fahrenheit, which is 90 degrees Celsius. Technically, that's probably warm enough for most people. You get a few diehard Russians or Finns or somebody who likes to take it over 200. It's not uncommon in Europe to go in the saunas that are that hot. And because it's so dry, it doesn't feel that warm. But as far as what you said, the ones you've been in are mostly dry, I will say you probably made an environment that will satisfy half the people, but half the people are dissatisfied and angry that they can't throw water. If it's a UL listed heater, you can throw water on it. UL 875 category just has to be grounded, proper appliance.
Okay. Well, what is that? You said UL still. I didn't catch what kind of heater.
Oh, there's just a UL listing. The sauna category is called UL 875. That's standard. With the heaters that go through it, they're able to handle water on the rocks.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So one thing that, again, speaking from ignorance here at the very beginning, we talked about infrared and
traditional.
Explain the difference for those that don't understand what that is.
Yeah. So infrared is a very safe technology. It's been around for decades as well. It's what they use for, in incubators and hospitals, and, a lot of factories and companies now heat with infrared, but it's not heating the air, it's heating the body directly. So infrared, it's just an invisible light you don't see. And anything that has heat, gives off infrared light waves. So for instance, if you're in the middle of a night and you got night vision goggles on, you can see if a car drives by, all you can see is the engine. Maybe the lights give off a little heat as well. But if a person goes by, you can actually see their whole shape because of the body is giving off all the heat. If a bird flies by, it might look like a little dot. There's very little heat that's visible with the glasses.
Like
but the point is, anything that gives off heat.
Sorry to cut you off. It's like what the predator sees, when he looks through and he sees the body moving and it's all the colors. It's that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect example, Trey.
Yep.
So anyway, that was a long, short story to basically that the infrared emitters warm up to get you into what we call the far infrared range, is the bulk of a lot of heat delivery in most infrared saunas out there, which is going to be from 5 microns to 15 microns, but the bulk that they're trying to get in that ideal range that the body absorbs is in the 7 to 9 micron range. Then you got mid and near infrared, which can kind of confuse people even more. If they start to go do studies online and searches, they'll find a lot of infrared companies telling me we have near infrared and following the NASA study. And the truth is, near infrared does get benefit and can even help with tumors and everything else, but it's not going to be delivered in the sauna to the medical degree that you can with either a handheld medical device that a doctor would use or those types of medical devices. The same way with red light therapy. So all of those are going to be more, I'll just say they're only anecdotal. There's no true peer-reviewed studies that are going to prove near and mid infrared are going to give you those benefits in a sauna use. Near and mid do give it. We have a product that delivers in all 3 of the light spectrums of infrared. and it delivers it well. But it's the medical benefit really more comes from that deep sweat you're getting rid of the toxins. And people who a lot of times like the infrared, probably because they don't like the high temperature sauna. I might argue that it might be because they were in a sauna that was either poorly ventilated, or they just didn't like a lot of steam and somebody wanted to throw a lot of steam. But the beauty of infrared is you can get a deep sweat from 120 to 140 Fahrenheit if you want.
Okay. So
and then traditional sauna is just going to start at the temperatures where infrared generally ends and goes all the way up to 195. And of course has the ability for steam, which infrared does not.
Okay. Thank you.
One thing that's common with my buddies when we use the sauna is we try to make it as hot as possible. And like you were saying, the max temperature, we try to manipulate that and make it hotter by throwing stuff on the temperature. Some people will get ice water and we'll leave it out the door and stuff like that. But let's just talk about, because some people say you should stay in it for 15 minutes and that's all you need to do. Me and my buddies will push our limits and go 40 minutes and see what we can do after that. Let's talk about the risks, because someone might be listening to this and they think, oh, this sounds great, but you have to be responsible with this piece of technology as well.
Yeah. And the honest truth is I don't know that anyone knows the perfect length of time. I'll just say this: UL has required signage that says do not exceed 30 minutes in the sauna. And I think that's actually probably a pretty accurate warning for most people.
Yeah.
If you're a strong, healthy heart, then you could probably go in a heck of a lot longer. I've used sauna since I was a baby, and I don't usually go longer than 15 minutes at an interval because I like it hot. And I usually will throw a lot of steam, and I'm uncomfortable after 10 or 15 minutes. So then I go cool off. Right now in Minnesota winter, I got snow out my back door, and I go sit outside and cool off, and it just feels wonderful. It's just an endorphin rush. Or if you have a cold plunge, you can hop into and have that dramatic change from the hot to the cold. But the real truth that we always tell people is your body will tell you. Do what feels comfortable to you. If you don't know, or if your body isn't, I definitely wouldn't exceed 30 minutes for most people. I generally go 10 to 15 minute intervals and 2 or 3 innings. That's just what I do. Most people I know are very similar. But that's kind of how I describe it.
I design outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
So what I look at mostly is an outdoor sauna. And if I'm going to do an outdoor sauna, I'm going to try to set it in a nice setting with a view. So I like the idea of having glass on a door. Okay. But is there disadvantages with having a glass on the door from a performance standpoint?
No, I don't think so. That's also another trend of the last 20 years is more glass on the outdoor saunas. I think it's a beautiful thing. And the beauty of an outdoor sauna and adding glass, even windows, not just the door. I think, like you mentioned, Mike, a glass door might not be as high R value as a wood door, but a few things I want to tell you on the question you asked me and why both are okay. First of all, glass door, I recommend it for an outdoor sauna. An all glass door is more stable than a wood door. A wood door is going to expand and contract with your heat and your humidity changes. And sometimes it'll stick, sometimes there'll be a gap. So really, an all glass door is the most stable. And as long as it closes and has a nice seal, your main goal is to keep your heat trapped in the room, but you're not on 24 hours a day. So you don't need super, triple thick glass insulating power just to be able to run your sauna. You just need to get that airspace hot. And having a window and a door, it might increase your heat up time, or like especially adding a big window, or if you add too thin of an all glass door or something like that, you might increase your heat up time 5 or 10 minutes, but you're not keeping it hot 24/7. And I really tell most people it's a non-issue. Now, if you do too much glass, like 2 full walls of glass or something like that, now your heat loss is going to be greater, and the heater is going to have to work too hard to get the room cool. And then you start getting high limit tripping issues where the heater thinks the room is warmer than it is. And it's just, it's a safety feature built into most of the heaters.
Okay. So glass door with a partial window would be something.
Yeah, wood door with a glass window is fine. A full glass, like completely all glass door with the wood jamb is what I even recommend just for stability. And then as far as windows, when you do put additional windows in the sauna, I think insulated glass is better. But those are fixed. You don't need to worry about opening and closing those. And then But one of the funnest trends with a lot of it is putting these nice big windows on one side of the sauna where you have the beautiful view of a nice backyard or of the lake or the mountains or whatever. And certainly the number of photos that I've seen of beautiful backyard saunas has grown hundredfold in the last 10 years. It's fun to see.
Yeah, we don't have lakes or mountains, so we have to build beautiful backyards here.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
You've got some beautiful settings, up north where you're at. So
Yep.
I imagine you mentioned you have a lake house. That's probably pretty cool to be up there.
Yeah, I love to sit on the top bench showing steam, and I can look out the window and see the waves crashing on the shore there at Lake Superior. It's one of my favorite spots in the world.
So the next thing is size. Okay, if I'm going to get a sauna, how big a sauna? So I know Trey's mentioned he's a real fan for laying down when he uses a sauna. So if you're going to buy a sauna and you're a beginning user, what would be some recommendations to think about on size?
Yeah, so first questions usually that I'll ask, or we have dealers trained to ask, is how many people intend to use it? Well, most people will say, 3 to 4, 5, 6, maybe once in a while. But the reality is it's usually 1 or 2 people. But then you just say, those are the questions you ask. And so the way I always like to talk about it is you want to count upper benches only when it talks about how many people are going to use it, because lower benches aren't as usable. Although, like I mentioned earlier, there is this new heater now where even the lower bench people can get just as good of a heat. So you could utilize those with the right heater. But I always talk about in terms of 1 person for every 2 feet of bench. And one of our most popular selling sauna sizes is a 5x7. So in a 5x7, you're going to seat 3 people on the back wall, 2 people on the side wall L bench. So you got 5 people on that upper bench. But then if you're using it as 2 people most of the time, well, now all of a sudden you can have 2 people lounging. The person on the 5 foot might have to have their legs bent up if they're lounging. The person on the 7 could probably lay fully flat and fit just fine. So that's why that's a common popular size. But we sell a lot of 4x4 saunas, and that's a 2-person sauna. And you better like the other person because you're rubbing elbows in a 4x4 sauna. So, but that one you're not going to lie down. You're going to just be able to use it. But the beauty is, even people who are living in a temporary housing, a condo or apartment or whatever it is, those 4x4 saunas, you can just plug them into a wall outlet, a regular rock heater, and still get high temps and still get a steam. And okay, maybe you're sitting sideways on the top bench. You're not going to lay down, but you can still be comfortable and you throw steam and still get an enjoyable sauna. So trying to get people to figure out what size they want is to figure out how often are you going to have more than 2 or 3 people using it. I'll tell you, 80% of the sales fall in that 4x4 to 5x7 or 6x6 range. Then you get 6x8 is the next one, bigger for residential, where you get 2 people fully lying down or seating up to 6, 7 adults. That's where you start to get there. But 5x7, 4x6, 5x6, and 4x4, those are your best selling sizes, and that's a 2-person, 3-person, 4-person, 5-person sauna, and that's really covers the bulk of most people's taste and interest.
And are those, you call them cubes? Is that what you said?
There are cubes out there, but the ones that I was just describing, they're just what I call our freestanding modular saunas. They're just a regular square box or rectangle box. The cube sauna is a kind of an outdoor model that has a little bit of curvatures on the corner. It's just a term that's been used to call a barrel-looking sauna that's a little bit more rectangular, is where that word cube comes from. But
okay. And then barrel saunas, do they come in those sizes, or?
Barrel saunas are usually your best-selling sizes are the 4-person models, and then after that, your 6-person models.
And how big are they?
Those you're going to look at diameters of roughly 7 foot and then depths of 6 to 8 feet.
So the 7-foot diameter goes with the 7-foot ceiling height. So do those accommodate the upper benches well? Or
yeah, well, that's one of the things with barrels that for years, one of the biggest knocks on barrels is most of them are just a single level bench. A lot of people have the cold feet, maybe leaning against a curvature wall. our company took a lot of those designs out. And again, this isn't meant to be a commercial pitch, but we are the first to start doing double tier benches to get you in the better heat, but also then redesigning even the single level bench versions with a better ergonomic bench and backrest, so you're not leaning against a curvature. And then those single level bench saunas, we like to say, use the wood fire heater or the this air perfect type heater where you're bringing that heat bubble down. Then it's not an issue with the cold floor.
And the reason I like the lay in the sauna is to touch my skin as much on the wood, get as much connection. And you can do that in a small sauna too, when you just put your feet up on the bench and you're leaning up against the wall. It's the same effect. So
surface area.
Yeah, just surface
area.
area.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah. And that's one of the beauties of a traditional Finnish sauna. The reality is your walls are getting hot, your ceiling's hot, your benches get warm, that you're radiating infrared heat from all those surfaces without an infrared emitter. So you're getting the benefit of infrared radiant heat into your body, even with the traditional Finnish sauna. But of course, you got the convection of the steam and the air movement as well with the Finnish sauna.
I do want to go back to the last question about the glass, because I've talked to my dad about this multiple times. I saw one, and it was on Instagram. I didn't use it or anything like that, but they did glass everywhere, glass ceiling, glass walls, and it was right on top of a pool. So the corner, you could swim up into it. So I don't know if it was actually a sauna or a steam room, but I'm thinking theoretically, if you had tempered glass, everywhere, would it be possible to actually use that as a sauna, say if you just upgrade the heater? Because I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of heat loss compared to wood, but if you have a bigger heater, maybe, I don't know.
If it's well insulated glass, technically it'd work. If it's single pane glass, I'm sure it's not going to work at all.
Okay.
But I'll say this, because we all live here in North America, I doubt you're going to get one to perform. And that's because the US safety guidelines are too tight, and that high limit will trip almost right away. I bet that sauna will probably maybe get to 130, if that, and all of a sudden that high limit will trip because the heater, it builds up. That sensor for the high limit is built into the heater, and that heater has to work so darn hard to try to heat that space that it eventually overheats and trips that limit, and now you can't use it until it cools down and you can reset it. So I would never recommend an all glass sauna. In fact, we try to keep people away from doing 2 full walls of glass, just because we live in a market where the heaters just can't overcome it. You could put a European heater in those rooms and probably get it to perform, but even those are probably going to trip high limits.
Okay. Good to know. It was a really cool aesthetic. And you can't really do a steam shower because you would have to have the plumbing. So.
Yep. Yeah, if you look at our website, you'll see some cool designs. My favorite designs nowadays are some of these that have either a full glass front or a full glass back. And you can do those successfully without heater high limits tripping, get a beautiful, enjoyable environment, and they look stellar and they perform stellar. So the saunas have improved a lot in design so that you can get great performance and still get a beautiful look. Great view of your pool, great view of the garden, the lake, wherever you're putting it. So that's definitely been a change in the last 15 years, especially.
I'm wondering with the heaters, what's the difference between the electric, the wood burning, and infrared? You kind of touched on this already, but just having this just all together, being able to compare them all three at the same time. Because I have the electric, and it's the one you can't put water on, or else you're going to short circuit it, right?
If you have one that's electric that you short circuit, I'm guessing you have a non-UL listed heater. But in general, infrared electric, those are all electric. Those you can't use water. In fact, they will short out if you get water in there. Most of those, they're not listed as a wet environment appliance, whereas the traditional Finnish style saunas, those are electric, wood fire, and then there's even gas in the market. Gas, generally, the venting requirements and the amount of choices in the market is pretty limited, but they are out there as well. But the electric rock heaters, they're all grounded appliances. Usually going to have anywhere from 2 to 6 elements in the heater. 3 is the most common for the bulk of what you see in the market. And those 3 elements are going to heat a large mass of rocks. Generally, I like to say the larger the mass of rocks, the better, for a better heat and a better steam. And the elements are just transferring the heat to the rocks, and you're wanting your heat and your steam from the rocks. That's what gives it more comfortable, less toaster-like feel, doesn't burn your nostrils. And when you throw the water, it's a longer wave of steam. It kind of envelops your body rather than hits you in kind of a sharp wave like a frying pan. So there are heaters on the market where you throw water on them. It's not a very enjoyable experience. They're usually a small rock tray, very few rocks, and it is kind of like a frying pan. And you think, well, that wasn't so enjoyable. But if you get a nice deep rock mass and a longer wave of steam, most people breathe through it well, and it feels comfortable. It helps induce the sweat, and everything on the market, if it has that yellow listing, that I used to have arguments with the club I belonged to. It was my very own company's heater, and they told me I couldn't use water on the sauna because of the electric heater. And I said, my company makes it. Been through a 48-hour water test. We know it's safe. Nope, not allowed. We were tripping breakers. I'm like, well, then you have something else wrong. They might have hooked it up to a GFI or something, which might cause a trip from a leakage or something. Who knows where it was happening, but yeah. And then wood fire is pretty easy to figure out. It's just there's the wood fire system is, you got a lot of other things factors at play. You got to have proper clearances, so you generally need a lot of space around it. You can put up heat shields. You can, but you got to use, by the time you put in the proper class piping or soap piping and add all your rocks and do it, it's just more limiting in more areas. So we see a lot more wood fires in the mountain states, northern states, out in rural areas. In urban areas, you don't see a lot of wood fire.
So what electrical requirements are we going to have when we install a sauna?
Yeah. Most of yours, I'll say the bulk of what people are putting in is probably going to be a 30 amp breaker. That's most of those sizes I listed earlier to you. Almost all of them use a 6 kilowatt or 4.5 kilowatt, and both of those use a 30 amp breaker off a 240 volt circuit. So it's just a size 10 wire and a 30 amp breaker. If you're getting a little bit larger, then you're getting into the 8 kilowatt that uses a 40 amp breaker and a size 8 wire. And then if you get a little larger than that, you're getting into that 50 amp breaker and a size 6 wire.
So is aromatherapy a popular thing to do with saunas?
It is. Yeah, that's another thing that has this, when you had used the term earlier, wellness boom, the wellness boom has helped drive aromatherapy, essential oils, things like that. One thing that you got to be careful, though, is you should never use essential oils directly on the rocks. That's a fire hazard. Oils are flammable. So you got to mix them in with your water in the water bucket and do it that way. But just right now, if I look out the door here right now, my stepdaughter has a bad head cold, and she got home from work, asked if she could put the sauna put it going, and added some pure eucalyptus to the water and steamed it up, and it really helps clear the sinuses. So that's another thing with the aroma that you can do. And then others are just for depending on what you're after. My favorite is a birch aroma. It just reminds me of spring and the birch leaves in the spring. I love the birch one. My wife, her favorite is it's something called Lapland berry. It's an Arctic berry. Has a really neat, almost like a cranberry / cloudberries. So I don't know how to describe it, but that's her favorite. And everyone has their own different. There's something called tar, which almost smells a little bit like burning pitch or tar from a pine tree. And some people just love that aroma. So, I'm fine with it. It's not my favorite, but there's a lot of different choices out there.
Is that something that you guys have available? Different aromatherapy kits or something like that?
Yep. You can get sample kits that have a bunch of them. It's one of our most popular sellers with our dealers. It's such an easy accessory. It's a $10 accessory, and you got in a nice 8-ounce bottle, or actually I forget what it is in milliliters, but roughly 8 ounces. And they sell a lot of those, and it's so easy to use, and it's just another way to enhance the experience.
That's so interesting, because we've talked about aromatherapy before, and it was one of those things that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like it, but now it kind of like clicked in my head. So can you use aromatherapy in a sauna and kind of get benefits that you wouldn't get benefits with the sauna, like you would stay in a steam room with the congestion and stuff like that? Are you able to get both of those effects at the same time, pretty much?
Yeah, I think so. You can in a steam bath too. We even have injection pumps that you put into our steam bath series. We're a huge steam bath distributor with our steam generators and boilers, but very heavy commercial industry, even though converting any bathtub or shower into a steam bath is is something feasible for most people. The injection pumps and aromatherapy is a little less common in residential than it is commercial, where they actually have these tanks where you mix it together and it feeds it right into the steam line. So you can get aromatherapy in both. The main thing is when you have it in the steam, that is the best way to get the benefit in your body, because you're breathing it in directly that way, and you have that. Now, I don't know the difference between some oils versus others. I'm no expert in that degree. I just go by what smells good to me.
I gotcha. One comment you made earlier was about the burning nose sensation, and that is like one of the triggers where I'm like, I feel fine, but it is hard to breathe in here, and I'm gonna leave. And it's actually like the most defeating thing that ever happened. So you said that was due to not having enough rocks when you're doing
that. Could be part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, usually one of the two things that I see when people are complaining about that is one, if it was a small rock capacity heater where they just put a tray on the top and then throw water that way, then it's a very piercing, I call it a frying pan type heat. It's just a quick flash and it jolts you when it goes by, and it can kind of burn the nostrils. The other would be if it's just running it too dry. The club says you can't use water, and they run it up to 195 or hotter even, but they don't want you to use water, and they have to run it that hot just to get you to sweat if you're not allowing water. But when somebody comes in that thinks or knows what a sauna normally uses water, and they just put a big squirt on that heater and that room's already at 195, that's going to burn your nostrils too.
Okay.
Again, unless you have one of these air movement heaters, which brings the steam in a different pattern around the room and it spreads it out from low to high, and a much better, you're going to usually breathe through that a lot easier. But the fact is, most commercial clubs aren't using this type of system yet. But we're changing that slowly. More and more commercial clubs are getting either our solo unit in there or adding those types of systems. But because the rooms are so large, it's a little bit more restricting.
Yeah. If there's any gym owners that hear this, there are people that decide what gym they have, depending if they have a nice sauna or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clubs that they think they'll just put in whatever one they can and put the cheapest one in just to check it off that we have a sauna. But the fact is that when you put in one of those, I don't think you'll gain any members by having it, and you'll probably lose members by having a poor model, either a poorly sized heater, poorly ventilated, or too small of benches, too narrow, you can't even lie down, or maybe they have the benches too low and you're not even sitting in the heat where you can sweat. There's just so many factors that can go into making a bad commercial sauna. In fact, that's probably what hurt our industry more than anything, was bad commercial saunas. Some builders would make them airtight, thinking they'll make it efficient for the owner. Well, everyone who went in there all of a sudden got claustrophobic and headaches because there's no oxygen in there. And it's something so simple to add without having this major heat loss. And then, honestly, I think by not allowing steam, that's just one of the areas where, they're trying to satisfy everyone. People complain about it, but the people complaining about the people with steam are usually the ones in there with all their clothes on and doing sit-ups and push-ups in the sauna and everything else, which they're not meant to do. That's just a bad thing.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with our customers. We want them to have the best quality sauna. You don't want them to say if they buy a sauna for the first time and then they get a crummy product.
So the ultimate sauna setup should include what?
Well, I always tell people to have, here's the thing I'll say about saunas. First and foremost, the heater. That's the heart and soul of your sauna. You have to have a good heater. And what makes a good heater? A deep rock mass, something that has high quality elements, so you're not replacing them every year or two, but want it to last a good 5 to 10 years. And then you want it to be built of construction, stainless steel construction, triple wall construction, where it's going to be safe surface levels as well as long lasting. So that's the heater. You could have everything else poorly designed. If you have a good heater, chances are you're going to enjoy the sauna. Second would be ventilation. A simple invent under the heater and an exhaust vent as close to opposite as possible, and it only needs to be 2 feet off the floor. People who will listen to this who want to argue and say, nope, you have to put it at the ceiling, or you got to put it, they're going to try to argue the fact is you want 3 to 5 air changes an hour so you have plenty of oxygen, and putting them at those levels, you're going to get those 3 to 5 air changes an hour. So those are the first two, the heater and ventilation. More than you could build the room out of plywood and probably enjoy that sauna if you had good heater and good ventilation. But honestly, plywood is going to off gas and all that, so you don't want to do it out of plywood. But then the next is to have a good softwood that is going to absorb the heat and then radiate it back to you. And there's a lot of choices there. Cedar and hemlock are the most popular domestic woods available. Nordic white spruce and Baltic aspen and thermal aspen are the next most popular European and Baltic woods that you're going to use. From there, you can go many number of ways across the rainbow of woods that you can do. Thermal magnolia, you can do radiata pine, you can go all kinds of different directions, and they're all going to make a good sauna. But you want to use a softwood that's going to be able to handle heat and humidity, and those that I mentioned will do that. Then beyond that, the extras that are going to make the good sauna is the lighting and the benches. The wider the bench, the better. A lot of people skimp there. They go a 16-inch or 18-inch bench. We like to go 24 whenever possible. Then it's wide enough you can lie down. Your elbows both have a spot to rest on the bench if you're lying down. And if you like to sit regular forward, well, you can pull your feet up onto that top bench too, if you like, which is a common thing in the sauna because, again, the heat stratification in most saunas, your tendency is to want to pull your feet up to your upper bench height just because it feels better for most people. So those are the kind of things: benching, wider benching, and then lighting just to be more subtle. Don't make it bright.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I hate when it's bright. Having it dark, it just adds that like layer of privacy, even though you can see everyone around. It's like that.
Yeah, it's more relaxing. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question, Mike, or Trey,
yes.
whoever asked it.
Yeah, it did. So I'm going to go and I'm going to invest in a sauna. So are there dealers all over the country? Do I have to go onto a website and look at it? I mean, how do you do that?
That's changed a lot also in the last 20, 30 years. The age of the internet brought a lot of sellers out there. It caused a lot of confusion, especially because in Google searches, infrared comes up so much more common than traditional sauna when you're doing searches. So that's confused people more, especially when IR is ripping on a traditional sauna. We promote both, but you can get it any way you like. Generally, if you're going internet, you're going to be more of a DIY person, and you don't need anyone. You don't need the local hand-holding service. You don't care about after-service sale or in-field warranties or anything like that. Internet is going to be fine. Local brick and mortar dealers is our long-term goal in terms of making sure we have a network throughout North America. My former company, we built a huge network. My current company, we're building a huge network, but the more knowledgeable people you have locally, people can go in and touch it and feel. Like I like to say, go kick the tires. How many people will go buy a car without test driving it? No one. Well, we want the same with sauna. How many people are going to buy a sauna without being able to go try the door, feel the heater, feel the steam, feel that one, test infrared, test traditional, do it with steam, do it dry? Well, showrooms is about the only way you can do that successfully, and we're doing that successfully and building that whole network. So our goal is to have a dealer within a 1 hour drive of every person in the country, and we plan to get there.
So is there anybody in Dallas, Fort Worth?
Yes, there is.
Oh, awesome.
You were talking about your showroom, and I kind of zoned out for a second. Are y'all having the saunas actually be on, and you're letting them test them out, or is it more like you're going and see the actual materials and the vibe?
Yeah, it's both. So,
okay, that's awesome.
Over even more, but what we recommend in those showrooms to have always at least one operating traditional Finnish rock sauna. Better to have two, one with maybe one of the air movement system heaters and one of the maybe portable small 4x4 rock heaters, and so they can test both. They both feel great, but you can see the difference. Then always, whenever you have infrared, have them all running. They run on 110, so might as well have all those running. Let people try those. And then the rest of them room temperature, because most of the people who come in the showroom are wearing all their full clothing and they don't want to sit too long in the ones that are heated, but they might sit for a while, like go in our double lounger one, for instance. They'll go sit in there with their clothes on and kick back and feel how they're taking the weight off their legs and knees, how good that feels. And they can imagine in their mind, what this will feel like at the right temperature. So most showrooms are going to have maybe about half of their saunas heated.
Okay, that's cool. And you talked about the boom earlier. I'm wondering, because COVID was huge boom for us in the outdoor living area, and I'm wondering, I'm sure it was as well in America, but I mean, it feels like Europe and everyone else that isn't in America, has been using saunas for a long time and the technology. So did y'all see a big boom after COVID?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Globally. Yeah,
Wow.
it was it wasn't just a North American phenomena.
Okay.
Every sauna company in the world did well during COVID, and it spawned a whole bunch of new ones as well. It just created a whole new industry of sauna manufacturers and sellers because everyone did well during COVID. Even the poorly managed ones, they were doing well. So that was a good thing for the industry. And the best part was, and I'm not going to give names of these retailers, but some of the retailers I respect the most have been in the industry for years, selling some of the top name brand hot tubs and in some of the best markets. I remember one of the owners telling me, he said, Mark, he said, because this is when saunas had already boomed since 2018. He said, saunas are going to boom. He goes, once this COVID is over, he said, there's going to be no stopping. He goes, it might not be as high of a trajectory that's straight up, but it's going to keep growing. And he is exactly right. And what all COVID did was throw gas on the fire for sauna, which was already doing great. I mean, double-digit growth all over the globe. North America was the fastest growing market and still is. But it's doing well globally.
I think because he said that there were some companies that weren't the best, and they did as good as well. The same thing in the pool industry, and I think sometimes people think of that as negatively because no one wants a customer to have a bad experience. But what it does is makes bad experiences and bad practices be highlighted in the industry, which we could be thankful for. So
I agree. Yeah, I think I think you said it well. The way I've looked at it is, sometimes all these renegades or whatever that tried to get into it, they raised awareness. Some people might have got it and realized they like it, but they didn't like the service, and they move on to a better one. Some of my dealers, they use the phrase, I think it's one of the grill companies uses this, buy your last grill first. But I do like to tell people, buy your last sauna first if they're buying one of ours. But the fact is, the better quality companies are going to be the ones that survive. The better quality retailers are going to be the ones that survive, and the consumers are going to recognize the difference.
So you've alluded several times that you were trying to be very non-company pitch in this whole thing, but quite honestly, I don't mind, you talking about who you work for and what you do. So we didn't say that at the very beginning, but we probably should have. But it'll be in your bio part. So anyway, but explain to us a little bit about your company.
Yeah. So the company I work for, we have multiple divisions. The corporate name is Bathing Brands, and we have divisions that cater to the professional industry, meaning plumbers, wholesalers, that industry, heavy on the steam side of things, but also the builder side with that side of it. Then we have a division that works what we call wholesale accounts that are a lot of e-tailers that work with that side of the division, and indoor, outdoor products, and taking care of to serve and satisfy the e-tail industry that has had a hard time finding good quality products. There's a lot of China stuff out there, but there wasn't a lot with good quality products there. Our companies provided it. But the division that I lead and head up is the one dedicated to brick and mortar retailers, and that's called World Sauna Group. And the reason we call it World Sauna Group is we're bringing the products of the world to you. We have the biggest and best manufacturers in the world as part of our lineup. We have a good, better, best, entry level, mid level, and high end. We have the best luxury offering of any company in the world. North America, nobody even comes close on that luxury end of our market. And then we have the same thing on the outdoor. We have entry level, we have good, better, best. You have barrels and cubes, and the more entry level, you have some of the better, like maybe the log and some of the solid wall. And then you have these pre-built, pre-wired, insulated, crane lift into place, or glass saunas, you name it. When you mentioned glass earlier, Trey, I completely forgot to talk about, we have a all glass sauna. It's triple wall glass, but it has wood ceiling, wood benches, and wood floor.
Okay.
And that actually has performed very well in there. But anyway, this division that we have, we want people that we say we want something for every taste and budget, and I feel we've achieved that. And that's in infrared and traditional, as well as the hybrid rooms of traditional and infrared is one. A lot of people don't realize you can buy one that has both. There's a lot of husband and wives out there where they don't buy one at all because they can't quit arguing over whether they're getting infrared or traditional. Well, buy a hybrid, get both.
Wow, that's cool. Didn't know that it existed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I ran into y'all at the International Pool Show. Y'all had a huge display out there, And there was a gentleman from, I believe, Estonia.
Yeah, I bet you talked to Hinton from.
It was Hinton. Yes.
Yeah, Hinton's awesome.
He was a world of knowledge. Anyway, helped me walking around and showing me all kinds of different stuff. So it was.
Yeah, there are luxury sauna supplier, especially on the indoor side. Just beautiful rooms. You probably saw the double lounger there, and some of the others with really unique profiles of woods using the Baltic aspen and thermal aspen and so forth. Yeah, it's an awesome room.
Yeah,
I'm curious what the longevity of a product like having a sauna that's outside is, or inside too. Because I mean, with the gym, I've been at the same gym since like 2010 or something like that, 2011, and finally we're having warping on the wood. And I mean, our gym doesn't really take care of the sauna. Like when you said they clean, they're supposed to mop it every single day and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I got something to say to the manager I know. But yeah,
as far as longevity,
yeah,
I would say most commercial saunas in the U.S. probably should be replacing their saunas in 10 years. And the main reason is because they weren't taking good care of it. If they take good care of it, a commercial sauna can often last 20 years, but maybe replace the benches in 10. Your benches are what take the most beating in a sauna. That's where everyone's sitting. That's where all the oils are collecting. It's just the point of where things can start to fail. Residential sauna, I don't know any yet that have had to be replaced unless it's something maybe made in China or something like that. But most residential saunas should last a lifetime. They're probably going to be replacing elements 5 or 10 years down the road if they use their sauna regularly. But I know plenty of people that are using saunas that are 20, 30 years old that I sold them when I first started in this industry, still on the same heater, still in the same room, and they use them regularly. So a well taken care of sauna can last a lifetime. And the beauty of a sauna is, a lot of people think of all the high maintenance of a hot tub or pool. Water products are high maintenance. Saunas are not. You use some water, but very little. And so as long as you're mopping it for the sweat and scrubbing your benches and backrests regularly, I just don't see that it will ever need to be replaced.
Well, I was thinking it was like a lifespan of a hot tub, which, I view that as an appliance that you're going to, use for 10 years and toss it and get a new one.
Yeah, I would say hot tub, definitely shorter lifespan than a sauna. I didn't mention the outdoor. The outdoor saunas, they'll last just as long too, as long as you're, treating or painting them. It's just you can't let the weather break it down. But they should last just as long as well. In fact, because you're running a sauna on the inside, you could say that inside probably is going to last longer than like a garden shed, because that inside of the sauna is going to be nice and dry from all the use it has. So
yeah, I've seen videos of saunas like all over the world, like in Russia and Japan and everywhere, and some of them last generations because there's some like ancient ones, and it's really intriguing.
Yeah, there's one here in my hometown. It's the oldest standing sauna in North America. It was built in 1868.
Wow.
Is at a Finnish historical settlement north of Kokeido, the village where I'm from, and it is the oldest standing sauna in North America. Okay, we know saunas came into the Delaware River Valley, in the 1600s, but the oldest one standing now is right near me, just a few miles down the road, and that it was well taken care of. It was helped restored a few years ago by some local fundraising, but it's a fun story to tell. If I'm at my factory down the road here in Hutchinson, it can like to tell visitors that, well, today you're going to see North America's oldest sauna and North America's newest sauna. The newest one will be that one leaving on the dock on the truck. The oldest is the Savu sauna north of Kokeido, if you want to go take a peek at that.
That's awesome.
You got heritage and all, got it all covered there. So.
Oh, yeah. Is there any like misconceptions around sauna? I don't know, maybe sauna culture, or the sauna in general, that you want to like, I don't know if there's any misconceptions or misinformation.
There used to be more, but yeah, there are still some. So maybe what I'll add to that question or that comment is years ago, a problem was saunas were often associated with red light district massage parlors, and it was just a cover for something else more nefarious going on than actual going to use the sauna. Early in my career, I remember a few of the places visiting and go look in the yellow page and like, sauna, what? And then no, I don't think that's what I think it is. But anyway, those misconceptions are mostly gone. But just if people associated with that, it's not at all. It's one of the most serene, clean environments out there, and it's not to associate it with the sex world, I'll call it, is not at all a good connection and not necessary. But the biggest misconception with sauna is that people either think it has to be really hot or that they can't breathe, that it needs to be neither. And that the other thing is that infrared is the same or better than traditional Finnish sauna. They're not. They're different. Both provide great health value. And I always tell people, use the one you're going to use the most. Buy the one you're going to use the most, or buy a combination hybrid of the two, because there really isn't, as much as my heritage, people will say, okay, I'm biased towards the traditional Finnish sauna. Yeah, all four of my grandparents are born in Finland, but that isn't why I love Finnish sauna. I love it to use it, and I've used Finfred, and every time I use infrared, I love it. But I'll go in the traditional all day because I love that steam aspect. It's my favorite part of the ritual, and I love the flexibility it gives me. But the fact is, I tell people, you can pronounce it any way you want. You don't have to pronounce it sauna. I always say, they say, well, how do you properly pronounce it? We always say sow, like the pig, and then na, sow, na. But they can say sauna. They can say any way they want, as long as they own one and enjoy one. It's really not an issue to me.
Yeah.
I mean, people can get hung up on pronunciations of authentic words, burrito, or however you'd say it properly. I mean, there's every language, there's different ways to pronounce it in the country you're sitting. So it's not an issue to me.
So one of the things we have on the podcast is a section that we call True Crime. So this is something that happened that was just a disservice to the homeowner, of a bad experience. So do you know of any true crimes that you could share with the audience?
Yeah. Almost everything that comes to mind is related to ventilation, and I guess the one that I can think of, it was a particular install. I think it was somewhere in Orange County. I don't remember the dealer anymore, but I remember they had converted a walk-in closet, and this person just was beside themselves on how the sauna was performing, and that sauna at my club, I don't feel this lightheaded than I do in mine, and your heater isn't working right. Well, what happened is the builder that built the sauna, they bought the equipment through, I don't know if it's through a dealer or through one of the distributors, but they thought they were doing the homeowner this great service of making that sauna airtight. There wasn't a leak anywhere in there. That sauna would have been efficient at keeping something warm, but it wasn't efficient at giving an enjoyable sauna. So what happened is their oxygen levels were depleted. And every time you're in there and using it, you use a lot of oxygen because you're breathing a lot. It's a cardiovascular activity. But the sauna, all it needed was a simple vent. Our fix on that particular case was we took the threshold out of the door. It had a threshold in that particular case. We took a threshold out of the door to get a gap under the door, and then we had to carve an exhaust vent as close to opposite the door as possible. I think it was in the back left corner of the room, about 2 feet off, and it went into a hallway. And that changed the whole experience for them. And if you would go put your hand outside that exhaust vent in normal use, you could barely feel any heat. You could feel a little bit, tiny bit of heat escape at that 2 feet, but it was about 80, 85 degrees coming out the exhaust vent. So it's not like it was like heating their hallway or something, but they were able to enjoy their sauna after that. So, I did think of one true crime that relates to one of my commercial experiences years ago, early in my career, at a hotel sauna. I was at a hotel that had a great sauna. Of course, there was a sign up outside the door that says no water, electric heater. And it wasn't a heater from my company, it's from a competitor company, but I knew you could throw water on there. But when I went to sit down on that bench, I branded my butt from a hot nail. So years ago, people didn't take as good care to build proper benches, and they had surface nailed the bench boards from above. And of course, over time, that when you don't take care of a sauna and they overuse, the nails start to work their way loose, and it had popped up. And so it was a blazing hot nail on that top bench that if they had done it like the style my company builds, where you fasten it from the bottom with the galvanized or stainless steel fasteners, you don't ever have that issue. But that was probably a true crime to me, is surface nailing a bench.
You got branded, huh?
And then they branded my skin a little bit there.
Ouch.
Wow. That's wild.
Any other things that we should think about in this adventure?
I don't think so. The best thing that I could tell people is if they've had a poor experience, find somebody who can walk them through a better experience that's not in it for macho pride or anything like that. Just that's there to help them experience it. So finding well-educated retailers is one way. Finding people who are passionate about it from the wellness aspect is another. But I really believe anyone, if they've given the proper time and ability to take it at a temperature that feels good to them, and whether they like it wet or dry, we know they're gonna reap the medical benefits, and that's the part that most people don't even realize. Like for hundreds of years, people took it because it felt good. Well, now people are like, wow, this is actually good for me too. So
Yeah,
So many benefits.
I'm going to check that report out. So
yeah, you'll like that. It's excellent.
yeah, well, I'm a technical nerd, so
It's wild how many benefits, and it's 15 minutes ideally. Like that.
Yeah,
Four
it's not
times
even
a
long.
week.
It doesn't
No.
take much out of your day. And now with phone app control for your sauna, a lot of the times the knock on sauna was, it takes too long for me to get hot, and by that time I'm too tired and I got to go to bed. Well, heck, you can turn it on when you drive home from work, or if you're out for the evening for dinner with your wife, just turn it on from the restaurant, and it's hot when you get home. So phone app control, my former company, we were the first to get a UL listed phone app control, and it changed my world when I could do that. I could be at the hockey arena and practice with my boys and turn the sauna on. We get home as hot and hop in, and what a difference to not have to wait 45 minutes, because most saunas are going to take 30 to 60 minutes to get hot, and the temperature I liked it was about 45. So that changed my world too, phone app control.
Oh yeah. Have you ever used one of those? I don't know what the proper term is for it, but like the Eskimo hats. Because I've seen a couple of my
I've
buddies.
used them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people swear by them. They say it helps them feel cooler. They sweat better.
Yeah.
They look a little goofy, but I've tried them and I don't notice a difference for me.
Okay.
And frankly, it's probably mental. It's more mental than anything. I don't feel like I suffocate or anything. I don't like it. But a lot of people love them.
Something I'm considering trying. So
Yeah. Yep, they're cool. I could probably
I'm
even get you one. I could send you one from the factory.
oh, that'd be awesome. I would definitely do as much media as I can for you.
All right.
That'd be so
Especially
cool.
if you love it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I like to go as long as possible. I'm not trying to be macho or anything like that. It's just like a internal battle with myself, I guess.
Well, it is. You're probably giving yourself a better endorphin rush. When you do that, when you set your body to extremes, and then especially if you can finish with the cold plunge,
Yeah.
I could see why you would want to do that. I personally, my last time of the day, was when I take my hottest steam and the longest steam, and then I finish with something that'll cool off, either a cold shower, or if I'm have the benefit of being at my cabin, I can jump in the lake. But and then that hour after, you feel like Superman. Your
Yes.
endorphins are so high, your body is almost tingling. You feel so good.
And-
It's
And also, like
the best.
when you don't use the cold plunge, it feels like I sweat more throughout the day. So
do.
if it's for some people that might be a good thing or a bad thing depending on like what time of the day you use it. But for me, I think it's great because then I'm constantly detoxing my body and stuff like that. So yeah, it's either
Yeah,
way. it's
exactly, for
win-win.
sure. Yep, closing your pores. That's what's happening. So that's nice. Then you don't continue to sweat for hours afterward.
Yep.
Well said.
So we do ask at the end of the podcast. I have a couple fun questions to ask just to get to know the person a little bit better. So I'm just gonna run through the questions real quick. So my three, and he has one too. My three are: what's your favorite book, your favorite movie, and your favorite meal? And then his is going to be: what's your favorite place to go for vacation if you go anywhere?
or inspiration.
Inspiration, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite book? That was the first one.
Yes, sir.
For me, there's no contest. The Bible, my favorite book.
It's a
Read
good
it
one.
daily. It's important to me.
Oh yeah.
Favorite movie? Probably Shawshank Redemption.
Ooh.
It's old now, but I never get tired of watching that one again.
We've
that's
had
probably
that
my favorite
answer
movie.
several times.
We had that's a couple times
Really?
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably because I didn't think about that one enough in advance, but it's probably my go-to
Oh,
if I have to say one.
first reaction is usually the best reaction.
Yeah.
So.
It's
Yep.
classic. So, and then favorite meal.
Favorite meal.
or food? It doesn't have to be.
Oh,
a
I
whole
would
meal.
say I'm going to say two because
Okay.
it depends on my mood. My favorite is a wood fire pizza, just plain old sausage pepperoni wood fire pizza, just about anywhere.
Mm.
But if given the choice, if I'm going to make something at home, it's going to be a pork chop dinner. Right? We have a seasoning here in our area made by the Minnesota pork producers that makes the best pork chop seasoning. And my family, if they ask for me to cook something, Dad, can you make your pork chops? So it's my own favorite as well. So that's probably my favorite meal.
It's one of the top ones at our house as well. So I cook on a green egg a lot. And
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
That's a ribeyes, pork chops, and ribs. Those are the three favorites.
Starting to salivate here. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm going to go.
Me either.
I'm curious. Have you ever put a pineapple on top of a pork chop?
I have not. No, I've done pineapple with hams and other things, but not on a pork chop. I'm sure it would taste great.
It is, yeah.
But I have not.
Well, some people hate pineapple on stuff, so when I bring that up with pizza, that's usually what I bring it up.
Yeah,
with.
I don't
People
like it
get
on
mad.
pizza.
Yeah,
I'll eat it on pizza, but I think it's better without.
I hear you.
And then if you could go somewhere on vacation or a place for inspiration, where would you go?
Well, if I'm honest, my favorite place is my cabin on Lake Superior. It's not very fancy. It's rustic, but the whole drive there, it's a 7-hour drive. But I'm thinking about that sauna. I'm thinking about sitting around the fire in the great room, and the sheer solitude and the sound of the waves. And it's just the place where I connect with God, with nature, and my favorite things in the world.
Awesome. I have to go to Colorado to do that. It's more than 7 hours.
Yeah, and then we got to hike up a mountain, but it's amazing.
I love the mountains. I'm one of those travelers where you bring me to the flatlands, to the mountains, to the ocean. I love it all. But my favorite place is Lake Superior.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate you coming on, Mark.
Thank you.
So if someone wanted to reach out and find how would they find your group?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, just Mark Raisanen or Mark.Raisanen, but my work contacts is just Mark.Raisanen at worldsaunagroup.com. Pretty simple. It's just first and last name at worldsaunagroup.com.
Okay. They can find the website. Is that World Sauna?
Yep, worldsaunagroup.com, the website. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, all the listeners need to go check out their website. They got some crazy stuff on there. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks again, and we'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
All right. Have a great night, you guys.
You too.
You too.
See ya.